Indy, you got a story for the people.
I do.
What's going on? What's going on? Because I think you're going to have to read the article because for some reason, when I try and pull it up, it ain't working.
It's still doing that. Okay. So yeah, just make me big and I'll share my
Make
screen.
make you big. Okay, I see how it is. I see how it is, buddy.
Yeah, look at that.
There you
Hi
go.
everybody. I'm
Super
taking
huge.
over.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm taking over. All right. So this is not just me, but this is Reef and a little bit of Colin too, but mostly me and Reef. Over the break, we wrote an article. And our article was kind of a plea and an observation of things that we were seeing. We were going to publish this before the new year. We wrote it over the Christmas break. We waited until after New Year's because we did not want to get caught up in all the New Year's hype. And it's kind of a codgery piece. I'll be the first to admit. Okay, but I think it's an important lesson and something that we need to talk about. All right, and the lesson is don't feed the trolls. I think a lot of people here are very active on social media.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And that's the big thing. And we're talking about your news feed and we're talking about who you engage with and what you engage with. And specifically, I'm not going to go and read the whole thing, but I'm going to go to specific spots. And this is one of them. This article is a plea. And that is what I call our thesis. It's to do your own discerning and start asking the hard questions. And what we mean is that there are a lot of rage bait and clickbaity type of people out on social media that are posting stuff designed to get you angry, designed to get you to respond, designed to get you to fight with other people in their mentions specifically because they get paid on engagement.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is stop engaging with them.
You know, I think that's going to be a tall order to do, especially when you talk about, engaging with trolls or either that larger content creators, doing clickbait titles to cause people to get angry. And I think there's a couple of people that we can and possibly could reference. See,
I don't want to say names because
neither do I, and I'm not. But I think if people listen, our audience, we got a lot of people who watch your show, a lot of people watch my show, all that good stuff. I think if we put two and two together, people will know just exactly what we're saying. And the thing is, it's easy to get angry. Now, when I see stuff like that, obviously I believe in being open-minded and watching it. But when I look at the comments section, I think overall people fall into a trap of choosing their tribal side or either that trying to agree with the creator or disagree. And the thing is, you're actually feeding into that algorithm. See, like when I do the titles for my show, when you do the titles for your show, etc., it's about, hey, getting to the point of, hey, here's what's happening in the story. Here's a thumbnail. And obviously a thumbnail can be funny here and there. But if it's just like, I don't know, Elon Musk is a Donald Trump writer, and anyone who voted for Trump is writing along with it. It's like it's that kind of Trump, or no, it's a Trump trolling that you see, Freudian slip there. Trolling that you see people to go to their different camps or have them react in an immature manner. But anyways, I didn't mean to cut you off, Indy. Go ahead, take it away, man.
No. Again, I want this to be an open conversation about this because I think that it's important for all of us to talk about how we engage and what. And honestly, I think you do a phenomenal job of not engaging with the trolls, of walking away from people that are designed and trying to bait you into that rage back and forth, which serves nobody and nobody really sees it for the most part. But like we said, go ahead.
Yeah. So the thing is, but here's the thing: I've had people troll my show, and you've had people troll your show. But the thing is, there's been two outcomes. It's either one, they convert to the Church of Hardlands Media, praise be to Saint Albachan, or either that they disappear. They disappear, and during election season, you see them come out in mass. And then I notice right now that there's a couple of people who probably are just done now and won't be coming back until the next midterm or is it at next 4 years for 2028. And it's just an interesting thing because you could take it two ways. It's either you win them over and you be like, oh wow, I didn't see that way, or they just disappear, never to return. And by the way, I miss you. Come home. Scruffapone, hero, come home. We miss you. The door's
He
open.
set up a new. Oh, bro, come on. He's still here. We know he still hate watching. All right. But what I said here, and what Reef and I said, is that if you feel the need to engage negatively online, and more importantly, if this account is a frequent offender to you, and I have them with me too, like, I just find that when I get that a few times, if they're triggering me, I just block it because there's no point. Okay. Why should that account or subject matter have access to your eyeballs and mind space? Right. The algorithms are designed to show you more of what you engage with, whatever it is. It's, oh, you're engaging with this? Let me show you 7,000 things just like that. I mean, and everybody's laughing because it happens to them too, right? If you're spending your time debating that mountain of bots that fight some information war, guess what? You're going to get shown more of that crap that you don't believe in from the bots that you don't want to engage with.
Yeah.
The only way to do this, go ahead, is to not engage.
Well, yeah. But then again, I do find certain aspects of engagement because let's say, obviously, people do like to get a rile up. Even I do. I try and minimize it as much as I can in order. And if I find you to be like really like you have to cross a line. If it's like, you are really a hate-filled individual, or it's just like, you know what, I really don't want anything to do with you. You got to be a special case, and then that's when I do the old block button or like ban. But when let's say somebody says, well, here's how I view a certain thing, and maybe they could be doing it a trolling way. Like I'll read what they have to say, and I'll hear it, and then that's my engagement. I just don't go for the ban hammer. Like you got to be a special kind of case for me to do that. And
well,
yeah,
Kit's benevolent. He is a benevolent king.
I am the mad king. But anyways, Indy, go ahead because there's a little bit more to this article that I want you to cover on here too.
But yeah, I mean, what if you do want to engage? If you're going to engage and if you're going to respond underneath somebody's post, at least link something that people should be reading instead. Counter it with that, or post yourself. Don't even quote them. Don't reply to them because that's really all they really want is that reply. Make a post, screen cap it even if you must. All right. And then post your own thing with a counter. And here's where the correct information is. And here's who's doing it the right way, because we're being suppressed like crazy. The people who are actually doing it right and are trying to get the story right are being suppressed and drowned out by the rage baiters, because that's what this entire social media atmosphere and environment runs on, is that rage engagement, unfortunately. Because it's, if you're actually learning about stuff, like, that's good, but it's not driving people crazy, like, and keeping them on the app and engaged and using this, right? But I think that, people like Vanessa Beeley, who were in the field working to get it right, people like Hardlens Media that are not on the take from corporate dollars. All right. Again, I hate to use names. I don't want to use names. I didn't intend to use names. I apologize. All right. But people who you think are getting it right, share that. Share the people who you think are getting it right. Because what's happening is there are people being paid on all sides of the aisle to gain those eyeballs. But you can see who is authentic pretty quickly. We've all sniffed out who those trolls are and who those paid ops are. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it takes a little longer for us to see.
Yeah, okay. So there are, first of all, the audiences, the people who've been on the internet, who watch content like yours, mine, Do Dissidents, RBN, Jimmy Dore, etc. A lot of people, I think, now are wising up to the fact of what kind of environment and landscape we are in. And it is easy to see an industry plant. And I could go into a whole other genre, which, the in real life streamers, or I forget the name of the lady who interviewed Drake, but she was so monotone and quiet. And it's quite clear somehow she became a overnight sensation and then disappeared. I think she hasn't done any content for the last 3 weeks. I get it. And then there's also the infamous Haktua girl. That's also like a big industry kind of thing that you see happen, like people being manufactured or created for their 15 minutes of fame. And then on the other side, returning back to our area in the political sphere of independent media and what we do here, you see people who started off in the beginning with a very small following, then getting millions of subscribers, and then resorting to nothing but clickbaiting and creating these hyped up titles, which look, again, that's how you bring in viewers. But the election is over at this point. And as much as you have the vote blue no matter whose fears saying, oh, Trump's going to do this, Trump's going to do that. Okay, instead of just focusing on Trump, because everything that's been said about Trump has already been said. I know who he is. Nothing anybody's going to say to me is going to surprise me about who Donald Trump is or who Elon Musk is. What matters now is people realizing and waking up to the fact that both parties are screwing us over. And I don't expect any Democrat to help us out. Even when the old guard passes away, which will happen, they're not going to help us out. The new ones, AOC and all those other people, they're not going to do it. Same thing goes for the Republican Party. I mean, for Christ's sakes, look what they're doing now to Thomas Massey. I mean, you know, looking at his before and after pictures, Jesus Christ, what that man definitely. That man. Listen, I have my differences with him, but he's.
I agree. He lost his wife. Remember, he lost his wife also on top of all of that. So he's dealing with grief on top of taking on AIPAC. I mean, calling out AIPAC and you know, it was courageous for him to say so. And again, not a huge fan of anyone in elected office, but I give him credit for actually stating the facts and calling it for what it is, that everyone in Congress has an AIPAC handler and gets phone calls and goes to lunch and is pressured heavily from them.
Correction. They got an AIPAC, a babysitter.
Including Kamala Harris,
yes,
who allegedly sleeps next to hers, but that's another story for another day.
Hey, be family friendly there, buddy.
Allegedly. Well, look, she's allowed to sleep next to her husband. So, yeah. But like we've been saying, plenty of moral sacrifices we've been seeing have been made to chase growth. All right, the people who are running for office, all right, they start a show and then they run for office and then they start a show to keep that notoriety up. All right, and we're talking about mainstream media, and then the MAM, which has been named recently that's the alternative mainstream media network. Or then you have this independent mainstream media that's actually corporate funded, but call themselves independent. All right. All of them. All right. They like to debate this whole panel. I know one specific show I have in mind. All right. Consists of a combination of Zionist warmongers and corporate bootlickers. And then they bring one person on to help frame a narrative of the crazy left. All right. The crazy independent. And people go in there and they do an awesome job from our side or from the independent side of making a point, but it's completely spun and framed as that is the crazy position from corporate media. And our position is to don't go on and engage with those type of shows, even though they may be big reach, big platforms, big everything. They're doing it for a reason. They're doing it because they're trying to position you in a way that is not suiting your narrative. It's suiting theirs. But we also noticed that creators are using these keyword-driven tools, right? Yeah. So, and then you got these collaborations, and we see these right-left collaboration, quote unquote, even though right-left doesn't exist. It's corporate collaborations from people who mostly disagree, but their audience has a little bit of overlap. They decide about one issue that they're going to talk about while ignoring everything else. The problem is that then somebody who claims to be of the left brings on somebody who they disagree with, has that conversation. The next person that comes on that's an activist, it kind of puts them almost on equal footing. Because if you're giving that person as much time as the quote unquote right winger that you're platforming them and their ideas, what does that say to your audience about where you're at and who you think is important for them to listen to?
Mm-hmm. See, when I try and get guests on the show, because look, people have asked me to reach out, and look, I am reaching out to a lot of people. Most notably, people said, "Hey, reach out to Jamal Thomas." I did send a message out. Hopefully, he gets it. You know, and I try and reach out to people that, you know, one, the audience would love to see on the show. I mean, that's a thing that people said, "Hey, I'd love to see this person on a show." I do the best I can, and then there's also, you know, other creators across the political aisle. For example, I had Larry Sharp and Spike Cohen on, and they're both libertarians. And while I might not agree with everything, but I feel like their voices do need to be heard. And I think it's important for us to reach out to wider audiences, to speak to people. And I know for a fact that you can't win over everybody, but I definitely want to make sure that when we do have guests on Hard Lens Media, that one, it's engaging conversation. Two, the possibility of real coalitions. And I'm going to say that again. real coalitions across the political spectrum to at least achieve one goal. All right, there we go, just one goal. Get money out of politics, citizen ballot initiatives. I don't know, making sure our politicians don't do insider trading. And I'm just mentioning things that I have agreed with a lot of people who are not on the left or liberals, but who are also conservative, Republican, or libertarian. That's fine. But the thing is, what also stays with me, and especially when you see just how the new alternative media, and let's be very clear here, I'm talking about like the major big channels, you see people trying to hype up this new area when, MSNBC and CNN, they are hemorrhaging viewers. So right now, all those people who were trusting corporate media, especially after November 5th, they're leaving in mass, trying to find something that they're familiar with, all the while not realizing that they're in the same slaughterhouse. Does that make sense, Indy?
Yes, it does. And that's one of the things that I would be worried about are these corporate retreads. And again, I'm not saying to have people on, not to have people on that you disagree with. It's to have conversations in areas where they're not pushing a narrative of their own, where they're not able to get their quote unquote talking points out there. And look, sometimes your audience is going to respond to that, and all of a sudden they're winning those people over. That wasn't really what you wanted to have happen in the first place. And that was because you decided to bring them on to have that conversation. If it goes in that direction, again, I'm not saying that's what you do. I'm saying that's what some creators do. And what they end up doing is losing a percentage of their audience to that other person that they brought on to challenge. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Okay. So when it comes down to challenging, I avoid the debate me bro kind of thing. I think there's a lot of people who do that. I don't take joy or satisfaction in partaking in stuff like that, because I find it to be, okay, you're yelling at a person, they're yelling at you. I prefer more of, okay, here's a dialogue and conversation. Like, okay, what can we, my goal is to be as diplomatic as possible. What can we agree on in order to achieve success so that we can move on to another thing that we can agree on for success, such as, again, getting money out of politics, stopping congressional insider trading, Medicare for all. I don't know, things that we can agree on, right? And that's the thing, because I think right now as a society and people who are consumed with 24/7 content on the internet, you see people want to see the fights, and it's a little bit toxic. I mean, it's a guilty pleasure. I mean, one of my guilty pleasures is watching Hell's Kitchen, and I like it when Chef Ramsay yells at the chefs for screwing up. But the thing is, in our sphere, it's about doing real content, independent media, conversations, and addressing issues that corporate media won't cover. And that's why a lot of us are getting suppressed, and we're dealing with the jackboot censorship. I know you are. I tried to pull up your article here, and you know what, folks, just so you guys can see it, this is INN. I'm trying to keep on hitting the refresh button here, and I definitely want you to hit the red flags, and I'll give you the final word. But see, look at this.
Look at this. INNnewsletter.com. Yep.
That's the INN newsletter. I can't pull it up.
Not happy about that. I am, but thankfully. But we came up with a short list of some of the red flags to look out for, and people that are looking to, that we should not necessarily be listening to or putting stock in what they're saying, or at least heavily questioning what they're saying and what their motivations are for why they're saying what they're saying. Let's do that.
Okay.
All right.
Check it out.
People who once worked for politicians, were part of legacy media, or were rocketed to notoriety out of the blue, like these people that came up to a million followers out of nowhere. We've seen that happen recently a couple of times. All right. People who seem to be given scoops, quote unquote, hot off the typewriters at Langley. And there are a couple of writers out there that seem to always be on the forefront of publishing on certain issues because they have CIA connections, clearly, and likely they're being manipulated and utilized by those CIA connections as agents in kind, whether they know it or not or like it. So we have to take what they say. Remember the Bill Casey line that America, will only be successful in the CIA when America doesn't know what's true. Okay, and they're believing everything that's not, because they're pushing all of these stories out through the media. Okay, and they've realized, the CIA especially has realized, that the corporate media is dead, and that the way to influence especially the youth of today is using the internet, using TikTok, using independent influencers, and they've gotten into the chats even, and we've seen that. And Reef was talking about, he read an article about how they're even paying people to just sit there and chat all day and be trolls and chat. All right. But also a couple other red flags. People who tend to show up at all the wrong times, but all the right places, and they stop the fighting, the people that are actually trying to fight the powerful. Hey guys, I don't know if we should do that. And maybe we need to make sure that we include this or that. And it's just a delay and stall so that it doesn't actually get done on time. We've seen a lot of these ops, we call them, or infiltrators, I believe they've been called in other cases. People pushing crypto. You know, I feel awful. I'm wearing an orange tie, but I'm wearing orange because of Substack, not because of Bitcoin, by the way, because fuck Bitcoin.
Liar, I will expose you.
I spent an hour and a half yesterday talking with our friend Golden Monarch, who's in the chat. Shout out to Golden Monarch. He's I feel awful because somewhere along the way I hit the mute button on the audio out to the stream just for him. So it became a one-way conversation, watching his head bounce like that for an hour. And I'm so sorry to everybody who watched last night. We're going to record it again tomorrow, and we're going to talk about why Bitcoin is a Ponzi, why crypto in general is a Ponzi. And yes, crypto and Bitcoin are the same thing. Bitcoin is based on a crypto backing. It's decentralized, although all the central bankers have seemed to have scooped up a lot of the Bitcoin, and it's brought it back to centralization, on top of the fact that you have the centralized exchanges, which also control a large portion of the Bitcoin. That's something I didn't want to talk about, but anyone pushing crypto, red flag. People who peddle electoral solutions of any sort, at least at the federal level. Mm-hmm. You know, we have talked about the Princeton study. Okay. My handle has been none of the above. I talked a lot about none of the above last year. And I think that focusing on federal electoral politics and what's going on with the horse race and what's going on with what Trump said and what Biden said and what this administration did and who they're, 3/4 of what they're doing without regard to foreign policy and military, we shouldn't even be focusing on it or talking about it because it doesn't affect us, really. We have no effect on it as well. We have no impact on, I mean, have we gotten them to do anything in Israel in 15 months? Really? No. Trump came in and said, I'm sharing a Jeffrey Sachs video. And that changed everything. All right? All of this talking about electoral solutions from the quote unquote left that doesn't have any representation within Congress, the White House, or anywhere else in DC, we're spinning our wheels. Mm-hmm. We're thinking about what could be, what we would like to be, but we're not actually doing anything to fight that system.
I agree.
And that is bothersome to me.
You know, if we do push forward, especially in regards to building something, and I think this is the year in which independent media, real alternative independent media across the political spectrum, because I'm going to invite everybody, left and right, let's go ahead and really do this. We have to be aware that, you know, they're going to do everything, and that means being the establishment, the remnants of corporate media, and yes, Democratic and Republican politicians, to try and suck us all into the midterm election cycle. And to which I've said to especially to Larry Sharp and Spike Cohen, who are libertarians, and to some of my friends who are in the Green Party, like, you know, hey, now's the time that they have to, you know, third parties have to build up their independent structure, their infrastructure. And as you pointed out, none of the above, because as what Larry and Spike brought up, and that is like, hey, look, there was a lot to be desired for the Libertarian Party, and the same thing can be said about the Greens, and then about Cornel West's campaign, whatever the hell that was, and of course RFK Jr.'s campaign as well. Because, you know, I've promoted third parties a lot on this show, but after this election cycle, I think I have to take the words of the gospel of Misty Winston. You know, we're effed, and, you know, shout out to her for being our first guest. Yeah.
I got this.
We're fucked. Exactly. Her. I'm burnt out by electoral politics, but I do believe in ballot initiatives. So when it comes down to voting and getting involved in politics, like, yes, lower offices I'll be involved in, or either that, citizen ballot initiatives. But even then, this is something bigger, and that is you can't rely on the same thing over and over again because it's been played out 2016, 2020, and even 2024. I mean, you only keep on saying, we got to go out and vote, guys, because this person's the good guy or good girl, and that's not going to work. And I am ever hopeful that people are waking up to this fact, and maybe by observing the behaviors of even these larger content creators who are still trying to push things like it's 2016 or even 2020, they're in for a rude awakening, because what happened to corporate media can very well happen to them, because it's like, okay, well, you're saying the same stuff that MSNBC said. What can we do? And that's why I keep on promoting citizen ballot initiatives. And yes, even by some extent, third parties, but third parties, Greens and Libertarians and Independents. I love you, but you better start maturing up, or I'm going to say, I love you, but you are not serious people. Okay. And I got to say that I'm being generous here. Don't make me be the bad guy. But Indy, I want to give you the final word, because we got a couple more segments to talk about now.
Yep. So again, this is the biggest thing, is that while you're engaging, a lot of times you want to get that zinger in. I do too.
Yeah,
but you're not dunking on them. You're not dunking on them. You're not exposing them. And a lot of times you're punching down. You're talking about someone that, and if you're punching up, again, they're going to ignore you. And for the most part, it's not going to, and a ratio on Twitter is only a ratio on Twitter. It doesn't mean anything in real life. It doesn't. It feels good. All right. But this is what we want everyone to do, because what ends up happening to that guy when everybody walks away and says, fuck this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
The only thing that the trolls require to be relevant is your attention. So don't give it to them. The minute you stop playing their game, they lose. Don't give away that attention and that focus to those who are undeserving. Give it to those who have. All right.
Precisely. And I would say, go ahead, Andy, go.
And one other thing, look for the people that use these clickbaity terms in their titles. Owned, destroyed, humiliated. They're playing into what YouTube is trying to generate for this rage bait, click-worthy crap. And if you click on it and go, so-and-so owned so-and-so because it's some dumbass from some show that you don't even watch, and it's, let me see what this one said about that one. That's what's going on here. They want to keep those eyeballs distracted. Mm-hmm. It's not helping anybody. It's not news. It's not information. And if I really wanted to learn what was going on, I would just watch that thing myself rather than somebody else reacting to it. That's just the thing. And it's not fun, by the way. Everyone says it's fun to point and laugh at the stupid, but there's a lot of other more fun things that we can do. So again, I hate to be a Debbie Downer. I hate to be kind of, the guy that does that, but, and it's not just me, it was Reef as well. And we had been talking about this for a couple of weeks, and we were like, it seems like I got like an article framework here, and we just started editing stuff. And next thing you knew, we had something together. It took us about a week to get that published and out. And you can go see that at innewsletter.com. It's called Don't Feed the Trolls.